We sat down with one of the innovation leaders at Sennheiser to build a platform that allows artists to protect and monetize their voice in an age of AI. And we did all of that within just 30 minutes. Here's how it went. Sophia, you're leading the venture building unit at Sennheiser, an audio technology company with a history of 80 years, and it's still run by the family. So it's a family-owned business. And for your unit, it's all about exploring new verticals and industries that you can tap into. What is the challenge that you got for us today?
The challenge is about, let's call it voice passport.
Yeah.
So I brought a problem statement that goes this way. In a world where AI can imitate anyone's voice, creators need a portable, tamper-proof voice identity to prove ownership, collaborate safely, and license at scale.
Okay. And why is that challenge worth solving?
Yeah. So we see a huge increase in AI-generated voice, and voice, it's obviously also a sound that we care about recording. In a world that goes towards generating instead of recording, we would like to understand how to still bring our values for trust and security into that space, whether that is the music industry or broadcast or other use cases, like, for example, business communications. We are extremely interested in securing that end-to-end sound capture and reproduction.
And if we think about who's affected by this challenge most, obviously there's the artists themselves. Aside from that, who are relevant stakeholders to consider?
In terms of stakeholder, I think
When we think about that challenge.
yes, it's the value changes massively. It's obviously the whole processing changes a lot and maybe gets bypassed completely. There are applications where this will be the case, and others where maybe not immediately, maybe at a later stage, like professional music. We think it's going to come probably later. At the moment, we see that mostly with broadcast journalism, but also with cases where voice is used as an identity and as a security measure in some identifications processes like KYDs. And stakeholders, I think it's mainly to create a whole new business that has a means to convince and develop business with completely new stakeholders that we haven't had in the past.
I mean, in the world that we're living in right now with AI, it's getting significantly more relevant. It's something that we see around deepfakes and so on and so forth. So it's clear that there are solutions that have to be developed to maintain a state where an artist can actually own their voice. So in that effort, is there any existing processes in place that you know of?
So like in terms of technologies, we look at things like watermarking, metadata, things like that. What's more interesting, I think, it's how can artists now license their voice and make it tamper-proof so that it cannot be hacked and stolen. But in order to monetize it and be able to then use other platforms, which are not probably going to be our service, but imagining 11 labs producing text-to-speech based on that voice, where the artist can monetize that voice. And we would be responsible for the trust layer that secures that voice and tracks it back to them so that they can really monetize at scale and make sure that they can control where their voice is being used and the content that is the context and content that is being used for.
Where do you see the current best solutions, what do you consider as the current best solutions?
I mean, we haven't explored the challenges in such detail to be aware of the competition. It's more of a we believe because we have a very strong brand built around trust and reliability and robustness of our solutions, we can transfer that brand, those brand values into this new opportunity. It's but that's what we're betting on. It's basically the brand strength and the reputation. We have developed in-house solutions. We might need to partner with cybersecurity companies. We don't know about that yet. But there's no competitor that we know is taking care of that security layer for the artist application specifically.
Okay. If we were to solve this challenge, what's the potential impact that we could create, in your opinion, by solving this challenge?
Yeah, I think we could generate a whole new business model where artists can monetize their voice and use it at scale. You can imagine in dubbing how relevant that is, as well as in AI-generated music potentially. For those applications where artists, of course, agree and are part of the vision, the creative process. But even just to bring like structure and transparency to those processes would really help shape the music industry going into the direction, the AI-enabled direction that they want to, instead of like just having to react to a movement where more and more, people are creating music that is kind of diluting then the professional music industry's efforts.
We will now transition into the actual solution ideation. So at this point, I'm gonna start my timer for the 30 minutes, and the time is running now. So there is two sides to it. If we think about solutions to that challenge, the one side is all around the protection of an artist's voice and how can you assure that he actually owns his voice in an age of an AI. And then there's the second part to it, which is around how can he actually leverage his voice in a way where we can actually make a business out of it, and where we can unfold the potential of licensing that voice to other people out there, for example, producers and so on and so forth, that would want to work with that voice. So around this, if we think about a solution, let's quickly discuss where it makes most sense to focus on. Do you see a bigger need in finding a solution that assures that we can actually create a secure ownership of an artist's voice? Or should we focus on creating a solution around how we can actually leverage this artist's voice, assuming that we solved the first part? Where do you see?
I think the second one is more prototypable. The first one includes some hard to crack nuts in cybersecurity. So it's not that easy.
Okay, so then let's focus for the next minutes on that second part. Let's focus on how we can create a product that allows artists to license their voice and make it usable for other creators out there in the music industry, like producers and so on and so forth. So speaking of the people that would want to use a licensed voice, who are the people that would be most relevant in that regard? There's producers. Which other people do you see out there?
Yeah, there's for sure like eventually a professional layer of producers, either in the cinema, movie industry, or in music, or in TV, journalism, broadcast. But also, maybe that's what's more interesting for prototyping is the the kind of prosumer layer, where maybe a prosumer, like a material producer, music producer, wants to actually have, I don't know, imaginary samples of music pieces that were never created, but in the voice, in the style of a specific artist. And that artist should be able, first of all, to have the creative overview, and second of all, to also monetize that opportunity. So that's maybe the new business part. I'm really like ideating here. We're not going creative, but it's the idea would be to give additional creative tools to people that are entering the professional music industry.
So it would be producers. It would also be, as you just mentioned, people entering this creative industry of music production. And we're seeing a whole new era here. And therefore, let's focus that voice monetization platform as a working title on this target group. Producers and people getting into music production in this new era.
Experimenting with new tools. Maybe they're also experimenting with AI automated mixing and mastering tools that are already available, or even with AI generative platforms, like music generative platforms. Like Suno, I'm thinking of, or so.
So if we think about a solution, we have the side of the producers and people getting into music production. That's what we discussed. On the other end, there's an artist that actually wants to join this platform to license his or her voice. If we think about that part of the platform, the artist side, licensing their voice on the platform, is there anyone aside from the artist himself that we should consider when we think about such a solution, such a label, or the publishing?
I'm thinking of their management. It's probably the first interface before it even gets looked at from the artist, and might be the whole. If it's it depends. If it's like a band, it might be the whole band. It could be that the whole kind of creative team is involved, and then it could also be some like their engineering head might be involved. I can imagine. Their production engineer. But there's licensing involved, so there might be more. There might be their licensor already, like either their label or the governmental licensing bodies, right?
And at some point, maybe collecting societies.
Yeah, also. Yeah. But it can become a very creative, like co-production kind of work mode. Of course, it would pose some challenges on the workload, and like if it becomes at a level where it's overwhelming, where the quality is not good enough, it might not be good. So the interesting part would be, how do we make sure that basically, maybe that's also maybe an AI algorithm basically matching interesting new music creation opportunities with the artist's style and desires to go in a specific direction, maybe even just for jamming and experimenting. Maybe it's something that will never be released, but that could be basically a place of collaboration between emerging producers and established artists to kind of experiment with already the well-known style of the artist.
Yeah. Let's start going through the user flows, and let's start on the quote-unquote supply side, meaning the artist management being involved. You start obviously by signing up to the platform, and then we have to, at this point, verify that it's you and your voice. That would be a logical first step, so that we know, okay, we can actually ensure proper licensing, and we know that this artist and this voice are matching, and this artist is who's claiming to be that person, and his or her voice is in fact that artist. So that's the first step, so that we have a verification in place around that. And then potentially it gets relevant to define certain parameters around what are potential rights and use scenarios for that voice. Maybe there's limitations that we should consider when it comes to a licensing of that voice. So you create that profile after verifying that it's you and your voice that's in place, and then it creates this profile on the platform. At this point, we could also actually think about automated integrations of streaming or social media platforms, or profiles in this case, from that particular artist, so that when we get to the discovery side of things for producers, that you actually get some relevant context on that voice and the artist behind that voice. So that's something that we could consider, where it automatically aggregates information from streaming platforms and social media, so that we have compelling profiles on this discovery side of things for producers. That's it for this part. Let's assume we have first artists signing up. You would see more and more voices that you can use on the discovery side of things as a producer. And when it comes to the discovery, if we think about the workflow of a producer, where would they start from? They would probably want to have an interface in place which allows them to find the voice that they're looking for. So what are factors that we should consider here? It could be the mood or the tone of voice. What would you say? What's relevant when we think about discovery? How can we drive an effective discovery for producers in that workflow?
Yeah. I can imagine it as very much a kind of a machine prompted suggestion, where you can get a few samples. Okay, for this music style you're trying to create, I suggest you looking at these 3, 4, 5 types of styles of voices. Then you give it, like human in the loop, you give it indication, then it gives you more options. And okay, you're looking at I don't know, a hip-hop voice with a specific deep tone and I don't know, slow cadence, I don't know. And then it gives you more option into that direction, until you get to the point where it really pinpoints you to specific artist names. And that's the moment where you Here it would be ideal to have a huge library, of course, of names, not to be restricted in the choice too much. But those artists that did sign up for the platform and agreed to explore this creative work mode, then get physically connected to the jam session, let's say it, right? And by verification, as you explain, so that we make sure it's actually them. Of course, it probably gets, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe the mechanics would be tricky because you need to schedule those meetings ahead. I don't know, but maybe there's a way to automate that as well with at least a kind of a trained chatbot that does the initial part with you. I don't know, and that you get to. I'm thinking it would be nice not only to use their voice, but also to spar with them creatively, really, so that maybe something gets created that is the product of both minds in the end.
In my head, there's two scenarios for the workflow of a producer. Either you start a new project from scratch and you start out by exploring voices, or you might have an existing project in place where you already have some, I don't know, stems, samples that you use whatsoever. And in this case, we could also connect to that project in a way, or you could upload something that helps to effectively guide that discovery, because we have a first reference of how, depending on how far your project already is, what could be suitable for that particular track and production that you're doing. So this is for this initial discovery, that there's these two workflows. Either you start without an input, you start from scratch, exploring voices, and as you just mentioned, we guide them through the tone of voice and the type of genre, so on and so forth, and mood. You could also have this as a filter, or you start by giving context on the project and existing projects that you are working on. As soon as you went through a couple of profiles, and obviously most important on this discovery is that you can listen to their voices. So that's the first thing that should be even in the preview of that voice profile. You should be able to listen to it. So I imagine an interface where you have potentially the profile photo of an artist, the artist's profile photo, and then the listen-in, a listen-in feature where you can just listen in to their voice. You have some samples of that voice, snippets, short recordings, and you can listen in and just guide it through. You could potentially save voice profiles to your library to not lose track of them. Maybe if it's not relevant for this project, it inspires you for a next project, and you may want to save it. And then you will want to have also these complete profiles. So as soon as you click on that preview or the overview of this voice profile, you get more information, background potentially on the artist, or you see the linked streaming platforms or social media, as we discussed for that onboarding part for that artist, where we automatically aggregate those information. And now let's get to the point where you found that voice that you would want to use for your project. I'm thinking right now whether this platform should not only cover the discovery, but potentially, and that might be a next version of the platform, we could also have an entire AI voice studio where you can work with that voice. And since it's licensed, there's certain factors that we have to keep in mind of what you can actually do with that voice. Because it could be as simple as a chat interface where you give context of how you want to use that voice and what would be potential lines that this voice should be singing. And this is obviously where we have to make sure that, especially around explicit words or political language, that we limit it in a way where we can assure that it's used properly
Totally.
and in line
With the style.
exactly. So this is obviously a super crucial factor to consider that we should keep on our minds.
I'm thinking it should be maybe a dual end platform. So with a basically a user interface and an artist, like a professional interface, right? Where it's maybe different things you see in that interface. It's not as much about the exploration, but it's rather about monitoring who is asking to use your voice for what purpose, what's the creative style they're trying to aim at, what's the content, do they say anything that is exactly not ethical, crossing any guidelines that the artist had provided. And that should be automated in a way that it's really easy for the artist to keep track of their requests, and basically artists or their management, which probably filters first, filters opportunities basically in or out.
I mean, that's a very good point. At what time can you actually start working with that voice? Is it something where we say, okay, as a producer, you found that voice profile, and you would first have to submit a request to be able to use it, or whether it makes more sense to allow them to start using that voice in that AI voice studio, and then as soon as you want to publish it, that at this point you start with that request, or in this case approval around it.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like a process bar that needs to be completed up to a certain point before you submit the request to the artist, I imagine, because the artist probably wouldn't want to go with like very early stage kind of music ideas that use their voice, but rather have almost a complete track where the sample is actually used, and or the voice is like basically that you can see the product come into life, right?
Obviously, we want to avoid friction and frustration in that process. Where friction and frustration can be created is at different points. There's potential for friction and frustration. So let's play different scenarios through. Let's assume you are a producer and you found a voice that you love and you want to use it for your project. And you can already start using that voice in the AI voice studio. And you start working with that project, and this whole track is taking shape and it's getting to a point where you want to release it. And at this point, you submit it to the artist or the management, to the instant at the end of the day that is responsible for actually giving the approval. In case it gets approved, or good, everyone's happy. In case that it doesn't get approved, the producer probably feels frustrated. So that's something that goes through my mind right now. How can we assure that we maintain both the interest of the artist / management and the producer in a way that at no point we have those friction and frustration scenarios? So that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things to consider. So how can we go about this? Either we, in my opinion, that's something that we should design by intent from the beginning, that we ensure that this is not something that we have to consider at the later stage, but rather at the point where you onboard to the platform as an artist, and for the producer, start working with that voice.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think on the artist side, there must be sort of an incentive to pass tracks that get requested for approval. So it's whether monetary or it's in terms of like a certain reward that gets achieved after having approved a certain volume. I don't know, but they need to definitely see the business case for them. And that's there needs to be a little bit of strategy behind for them to go into that direction. And why should they be diluting in the end their production? So that's probably something because they see the opportunity, also the creative opportunity of collaboration and opening up their voice as a license.
Yeah, obviously from an artist side of things, and you've been talking about dilution, there's various different levels to it. There's this widely known artist, let's say the top artists, all the way down to a vocalist that is just starting out and might actually want to get discovered and used in projects so that they can get exposure and actually become visible, specifically for these emerging vocalists. So that's a good point. What I do have in my head as a comparison, do you know Fiverr, the platform?
No.
Fiverr is a platform where you can literally book any service, whether it's a graphic designer, an engineer that wants to work on a project with you. And aside from Fiverr as, let's say, the normal or standard platform, there's also, I'm not sure if it's called Fiverr Pro or similar, but it's sort of a higher premium service that is being provided by certified service providers. So what I see is that we could do something similar, that for these high profiles, with where it's super sensitive on how their voice is being used, not to make a difference on or make it smaller for emerging artists. Obviously, we have to treat them with the same care when it comes to ensuring how their voice is being used. But at the same time, for these super high profiles, not obviously, but dilution is of a different importance. And for them, it might be coming from a standpoint, okay, I might be diluting my voice. And for an emerging vocalist, it might be, okay, that's no problem for me. I actually want to be seen and become visible, and I want to be featured in certain tracks. So I do see that there's two different demands that they have. One wants to protect, the other one wants to be seen. So I do see that we could have also a pro version of the platform for these bigger artists and names, where there's also a bit of a different process in place on how the licensing works. For that part, I do see the relevance of having a pre-approval, because they might not want to and are open to collaborate with, let's say, a quote-unquote random producer. In this case, it might be more relevant to also have background on that producer and see that, okay, this is the producer who's requesting to use my voice for this specific project, and then there's more context to it and work that is being done before you can actually work with that voice, because it's more sensitive. And then we could have a lean and simple process in place for the emerging vocalists and those where we can provide easier licensing that is way more optimized.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
We have around 2 minutes left. For these remaining 2 minutes, let's briefly talk about two things. Let's talk about how we want to name that platform. And then if we have some time left, let's think about go-to-market, how we would want to launch the platform and get it out there. Is there anything that comes to your mind in terms of a name for that platform?
Not instantly. I think it can be. Do you have an idea?
I'm getting ideas at the moment as we're speaking from Kate.
Okay.
Yeah, she's texting me.
If anyone on the team has ideas,
Yeah.
open.
So there's naming ideas around that idea of the they mainly pick up the part of assuring that it's actually authentic and real. So names around voice key, origin, voice guard. Voice guard sounds too protective for me. It should have another connotation to it, which is more positive and not protective. I would want to have something more positive to it.
I'm thinking of something like voice jam or something like that. That's more creative, that more inside the music industry rather than cybersecurity or protection. Yeah.
So in that direction, I'd also would want to see it going. Voice jam. Yeah, let's actually just go with that for now.
Yeah, it's a working title.
So Juan, if you are able to do a last update, because the time is actually over now.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Would have loved to talk about go-to-market.
I mean, we will talk about the go-to-market as we're also going through the solution that we built, because that is not as relevant for the building as other parts. So I will ask Jonathan to get in the laptop, and then we can discuss go-to-market once we had a look at the solution. All right, let's rejoin. Oh. I'm curious to see what they came up with.
Yes. Very curious. It was at one point I even forgot there was someone behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's really
I also forgot halfway through this recording that we're actually recording. I got really into that brainstorming process. Okay, let's reconnect.
First round.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. All right. So are we ready for our first overview? Okay, that was super nice. Of course, a bit intense, right? Because there's so much ideas coming up. I guess you'll be able to see a bit of the recording, right? A bit of it is trying to understand, okay, what to build, then what is the best structure to build it, and then what are the features, and what is the best way to showcase it. The last update here was also the name. So we had initially our AI coding companion was going more for a voice guard, but I'm happy we have something a bit more bouncy and artistry with voice jam. And so let me walk you through the solution. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So initially we have just a landing page, right? So the whole idea, right? Your voice, this is your most valuable asset. We want secure biometrics, right? Management for broadcast journalists and artists, although we finally went more to the artists. and the key elements, right, all around, also embodying some of the values of Sennheiser, security, licensing, and like enterprise level, also like adoption maybe in the future. A lot of the information is focused towards on one side the artist, right, but on the other side the value that we will create to all of the labels and all of the artist management companies that would be able to be checking on the information and the voices and the management of the voices that the artist would have. There's a simplified version, right? We talked about different tiers, different needs for each one of the let's say different levels of users that we have. So on one side, the individual artist, maybe a professional one with additional access, right, additional features, and then probably also an enterprise plan for bigger companies and some of those artist management companies. So overall, I guess that kind of like encompasses the bigger idea. Lots to optimize as well around there, but I think that goes really well. And then from here, we should be able to move to the app. We couldn't finalize the authentication, but I guess we should be able to just sign up here.
So Juan, is that now from the perspective of an artist or the management? Or
that would be from the perspective, yes. So that would be from the perspective of an artist. So we actually the authentication did pass through. As to answer exactly your question, right? Like potentially we would create different signups for the different types of users, but I just kind of like gather both of them here in the same view, where we should be able to have very similar but also a bit different views and features for both the producers and the artists, as well as the label or the artist management companies. So I think most of the screens here with some of the features were completed. So this is the overall producer dashboard, where in the most important, I mean, once you have, let's say, as we said, right from the user point of view, probably the first thing that you would do is go to your voice passport and create your voice biometric profile. Here, the artist and the producer should be able to start creating the different samples that create this voice passport, which we said, okay, we want it to be very secure. So there's like a hashing and a biometric profile behind it. Is something that you can also download, that take with you, verify, also regenerate, and by doing that, you should be able to start putting out some of the license requirements and also being able to get some of the licensing requests that you would get from the side of labels. So there's a verification part, right? It goes hand in hand with all of the security features that we discussed. There's an analytics tab that tells you about the total verifications, the success rate, some of the active licenses. Of course, this would need further development depending on where we want to take it, and overall the security notifications and account settings from the side of the producer. That's the first thing I would showcase, and happy to get your views and questions.
Yeah, nice. Really like the snapshot view that makes it easy for them to both understand the monetization opportunity, but also the kind of accept, decline, easy kind of toggle, so that you don't accumulate requests. Hopefully there's a way to also kind of time these requests so that they don't become a huge backlog. But it's I think it's the essential that you need. It's on this dashboard. It makes it also very clear that you might have some threats or some alerts in red. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, we would need to define exactly how do we sort these threats, and how do we, there's a bit the kind of also cybersecurity layer. How do we flag potential, kind of, I don't know if that's an attack that you have here displaying potential unauthorized clone. So there's a little bit of cybersecurity layer there that has identified a clone that is unauthorized.
So there's I mean this interface is from the perspective of an artist, a vocalist.
Yeah.
So just a small thing that we would want to change if we were to continue on this product, that it's not the producer dashboard in that case, it's the artist dashboard. So there's artist and label on the one side, and then for the producer part, and this is in my head also where it can get really exciting, is around what we just discussed with the discovery and how they would have in the next version, aside from the discovery, this AI voice studio where they can actually work with that voice, and we might want to collaborate, for example, with, because you mentioned it earlier, 11 labs, because obviously there's certain aspects in the technology where it doesn't make sense that we build it all ourselves. So 11 labs, for example, would be a great partner to integrate and partner up with when it comes to actually using that voice. So that's the side around the discovery and producer part that I'm super excited about to explore further.
Yeah, absolutely. And picking up on this one of 11 labs, I think partnering with them would also help eliminate that friction and frustration that is potentially with the producer. So at the moment that the track doesn't get approved from the artist, maybe a solution like 11 Labs can help suggest a similar voice that has a very similar style, but it's generated. And that's kind of generating to mock existing voices, but without having to pay the royalties.
To wrap it up, let's talk about go-to-market. How would we approach go-to-market? What are your ideas, Sofia?
I think here it's one of those cases where you won't reach success and the splash you want with this platform until it will generate somehow one track that actually goes viral, that gets played in clubs, that has a sample of a famous artist, and the word gets spread that it was actually kind of generated. It wasn't the artist's production. And that would kind of generate the cultural buzz around it, and as a new tool for music creation. But it needs to also find ambassadors in the music scene somehow.
From our previous experience of building software products and platform that are two-sided, I would in the next step dive into exploring which side is harder to bring on. Is it harder to find artists and vocalists that actually want to provide their voice to the platform, or is it harder to find the producers that would want to use that voice? That's the next topic that I would tackle, to rethink about how we can overcome the potential concerns and have the right incentives and a smart system in place on how we can bring the side on board that is harder to convince.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I would focus on next. So I do believe that when it comes to the actual distribution, it would make sense to think about who would be either directly the management or labels that we could contact to have an initial distribution, because at the end of the day, a label, depending on how many artists they have in their roster, it is a multiplicator. So if we find one that has, I don't know, a couple hundred artists signed, then there's a certain percentage that would be suitable for the platform or where there's the interest. So this is where I see a great multiplicator if we go through labels. And then
absolutely, I agree.
Then obviously for that whole initial iteration and validation, we would pick one label where we have the opportunity to get honest insights and actually do the iteration that is needed to actually bring it to market in a way where I can serve millions out there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
Julia?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can jump up with some of the thoughts that I had while creating this, right? Two things that really like stood up from the beginning of the conversation is, of course, the big reputation that Sennheiser has as a brand on the trust and the security side, which I think resonates a lot with like this technology product. And from the go-to-market part, you know, even though Sennheiser right now is focusing specifically on audio professional technology, the brand and the recognition from all of the artists and all of the producers and all of the labels as that trusted brand, I think would be one of the key competitive advantages that if anyone else would like to build something like this, right? All of these specifics, as you discussed, are still to be evaluated. But if someone else would have to build this, those are two big competitive elements that would put this project ahead. So just wanted to highlight on that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's valuable existing assets. If that's a solution that is being launched by Sennheiser.
It would help also with strategic partnerships if we have to integrate into third-party APIs, that we do have a brand and that it's a win-win situation, basically.
100%. And this is where the true magic happens if we leverage these existing assets and combine it with our experience in building software products. This is the intersection where you create that new organism.
Agree.
Let's wrap it up with this.
Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, team online.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Let's go.
That's it for our episode with Sofia. If you're curious to see what we managed to build in just 30 minutes, you can check out the prototype through the link in the description. And of course, we'd love to know in the comments down below how you would have solved this challenge.